we have the federal government now coming out and giving warnings for millions of people that the power and the gas could potentially go out for months, and it could be, quote, catastrophic. All right, that's exactly what the federal government is warning of, and they are saying that we need to take these warnings seriously and take action as well. Quote, take action. That's what the federal government is warning us, and we need to listen because they are prepping to collapse the grid and have major damage to the grid. That's why they're saying it could go out for months, because of the damage that could happen to the grid from this event. And they're saying that we already almost had one of these events. We just almost had one of these events, and they're saying that we could have another one going into winter as the grid starts to be more strained, and specifically natural gas starts to be more strained for heating, cooking, and the grid. Okay, natural gas accounts for 40% of all the electricity in the grid. 40% of it is generated from natural gas generators. Okay, massive generators that are just burning natural gas that converted into electricity for you. 40% of the grid is that, and they're saying that our pipelines are at a massive risk, and they just had a major emergency where there could have been damage where it could have been out for months. All right, that's exactly what FERC is warning of. So this is the Federal Electric Reliability Council, and this is a federal government agency that monitors the grid and keeps an eye on it and makes sure all the different parts are moving. Okay, and the head of FERC has actually been coming out and giving a lot of these warnings and saying that, hey, our grid is on the edge. And now he's saying that our natural gas pipelines are on the verge going into winter, and this could cause major shortages and major problems where the grid, the electricity, and the gas could go out for months in the middle of winter. All right, so this could be devastating. This is your sign to get a generator, to get prepared, to get your propane tanks stocked up right now. All right, because it's getting colder every single day. There's a massive cold front moving in here, and we're going to be leaving here by next week. All right, it's getting colder every night, and we're going to head out of here and head a little bit south to get out of this. All right, but it's going to be cold. It's going to be winter before we know it, and you need to be getting ready. You need to be getting your gas tanks filled. You need to get your water tanks filled, okay? And you need to get your propane and your, even if it's just a little propane tank that you use for a grill, all right? That could save you one day. That tank you could cook a ton of meals on while your power's out. That could save you one day. Preferably have bigger tanks. If you have a large tank on your property, you need to be filling these up right now, because FERC is warning that we could have catastrophic events piling up. And that's what he's saying, quote, catastrophic, and quote, take action. All right, let's just read his quote here, and then we will get into the details of this warning and exactly what's going on. All right, because this is major. Our country is in a very bad position as well. The strategic oil reserves are at their lowest level in 40 years. They just hit another all-time low, and there is only 17 days left of strategic oil reserves right now. 17 days. That's the new number that just came out. 17 days left. So if there's a major emergency and the US is in the middle of a massive war or something, and oil imports get shut off, and it's the middle of winter, that's the other problem here they're having with natural gas, is that the production in the winter goes a lot lower because the ground freezes. Okay, the ground is frozen, and also the water that they use and inject into there to keep it cool while they're drilling, it freezes as well. That's the major problem that they have, and they have ways to heat it, but it makes it a lot less efficient, and they can't get the same kind of yields that they normally get from fracking and from drilling. Okay, so that's why we see major shortages pop up in the winter. And if something else happened on top of it and we had to rely on our strategic oil reserves, it's only 17 days. And you can bet there's going to be rationing, there's going to be shortages, and there's going to be National Guard like monitoring gas stations and monitoring gas fill-ups. And some places it's hard to fill up your gas tanks. Like my RV propane tanks in the front, I have two 7-gallon ones, okay, 30-pound 7-gallon ones. And sometimes it's hard to find a place to fill it up, right? Sometimes you're lucky there's there's 10 of them, but sometimes there's nowhere to fill it up. So get these things filled up. Let's get into what this warning of the head of FERC is saying, all right? And then we will get into the details of why he's saying this as well, and how we just had an emergency and he's warning that this could repeat and be a lot worse. And he's saying we got lucky on the last one, and the next one could be the big one where it goes out for months. All right, so this is what he said too. This is just like one of his quotes that I thought was most devastating, and then we will get into the details here of how this could go out for months. But you could see here, this is the head of FERC. He said, this would have been catastrophic. He's talking about an emergency that we just averted. This would have been catastrophic. Everyone should be concerned enough to take action on this report and recommendations when they come out immediately. All right, he's saying that they're about to release recommendations of what you should do to prepare for this. And he's saying we almost had a catastrophic event. And he said everyone should be concerned enough to take action on this report. And he said recommendations will come out and you need to take action immediately on those recommendations. That's what the head of FERC is saying. And we already know the recommendations. Get a generator, get stocked up now, have food, have fuel, have a wood stove if you can legally have it, because they're prepping us to knock the grid out, all right? And they are saying that they had a massive emergency, okay? The reason why they're saying this could go out for months is because last year, on December 24th, the day before Christmas, Christmas Eve, they had a major emergency, and they just released this. So the head of FERC is kind of like spilling the beans here too, and telling us about an emergency that we didn't know about. And he's worried because he sees Christmas is only 2.5 months away, right? Not even 3 months away now. And we're going to be in the middle of winter, and he sees these emergencies repeating, and he sees them coming. And he's saying, look, last Christmas Eve, we had a major emergency in New York. And he's saying that the natural gas going into New York was paused momentarily. And if they didn't pause it, they would have had a rupture and collapse in certain areas because of the pressure fluctuation, because they did not have enough gas flowing into New York, okay? And the problem that they had is that the pressure was fluctuating so much that it could have caused a rupture with like vapor pockets forming, or it could have caused a collapse as well of the pipeline. And they're saying that it could have gone out for months. Here's the details here of them saying that, all right? And they're saying it was Consolidated Edison Inc., New York State's largest utility. This happened on December 24th last year, and he just released this information to us. And he said, had they not taken emergency action, gas heating could have been shut off for months in all or portions of its territory, according to staff at the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. So that's the largest gas utility in New York State. It's called Consolidated Edison Inc. And they had to take emergency action last year on Christmas Eve, or else their pipelines would have ruptured and collapsed and caused enough damage that it could have been shut off for months. It says gas heating could have been shut off for months. All right, that's what they're warning of. And this can happen anywhere in the country. Okay, we also had rolling blackouts happening in North Carolina and South Carolina, parts of Tennessee and Kentucky, with Duke Energy last year on Christmas Eve and Christmas as well. Rolling blackouts on Christmas. This happened in the US, all right? And they were saying that we almost had a months-long energy grid collapse in New York as well, supplying millions of people in New York. They get their gas, and the electric companies use this gas and convert it into electricity as well. So this is a major problem. This is why you need to have some kind of alternative source of energy, okay? Have some kind of solar kit have some kind of solar book, even a tiny solar little panel that you can use to charge your phone. They have little tiny ones. They're probably like $20 or $30 now. And these things could save your life one day, all right? This could get you the emergency help that you need. And look into sat phones as well. And I will even give them credit that iPhones, you have to have some kind of phone, all right? Everyone has one. But iPhones, they now have this satellite phone capability. In emergency, you can connect to their emergency satellite systems if you really need it, all right? And some people in Maui and stuff were even doing that, all right? So look into all these things. We need to have backups. We need to have alternatives, because the federal government keeps coming out and warning that the grid is not safe, the grid is not reliable. Look at this. It says the morning of December 24, 2022, Con Ed declared a gas emergency as pipeline pressure declined rapidly, effectively halting gas flows at a utility station in Manhattan, according to FERC and NERC. At the time, cold temperatures across the country had caused natural gas production to decline, and pipeline operators reduced pipeline pressure in response. All right, so I'm telling you, this is going to happen again. And every year they're taking more and more power plants offline. Okay, so since just last year, I'm going to show the roll here. All right, I'm going to show a little roll here of all the different power plants that have been shut down in the past decade or two, all right? And it's accelerating, and just in the past year, they've shut down more. They're shutting down power plants every single year in the US, and specifically coal power plants, which account for around like 20% of our grid. So coal's around 20%, natural gas is around 40%, and then the rest is other things like nuclear and solar, wind, a mix of different things like that is the rest of the 40% of the grid, okay? But they have been chipping away at coal power plants as well, and they've also been getting rid of hydroelectric dams all over the country. Even in places like California, they've been destroying hydroelectric dams, which generate power for like different fish species and things like that, so they can get through. Instead of building them fish ladders, they've just been destroying these dams completely. So things are going to get worse, all right? The capacity which we are taking things offline, that's what FERC was warning of in the summer as well. If you remember, I made a video about this in the summer, probably like June, early June. FERC was coming out and they were warning of this. They were saying that the grid could collapse and we are taking too much of our energy grid offline at once before we are replacing it, right? And there's not enough actual real alternatives to really replace these things. And especially in the winter when things like wind and solar have a greatly diminished capacity. Okay, the sun is at a much lower point in the sky and the days are a lot shorter. So the solar generation is at way reduced capacity. And I know people that are off grid and certain months, okay, they're off grid on solar. I use a generator all the time, but in certain months in the winter, they have to use generators. They just don't generate enough electricity in these certain latitudes. All right, so you need to be getting stocked up on these things right now. They're giving warning after warning, and it might not be this year, but maybe it's next year. Maybe it's next summer, okay? But look at what happened in Buffalo, New York, too. This was totally forgotten. This was swept under the rug. I made an entire video about it, how there was mass looting in Buffalo, New York after this major storm. Okay, the power was knocked out, massive snowstorm. People were getting trapped in their cars on the side of the road, and sadly, a lot of them did not make it. Okay, and then in the response to this, the power was out. People are starting, they were looting Aldi's. Okay, that's when you know it's getting bad. All right, it's not just like looting stuff like excess things like shoes or iPhones or whatever. Okay, you know it's bad when Aldi was completely busted out. I made a whole video on this. The windows were busted out in Aldi. All right, looted out. Family Dollar busted out. All the dollar stores, like all the food and stuff was gone. okay? And that could definitely 100% happen in New York. They are trying to collapse New York, okay? They're trying to collapse all these major cities in our country, okay? And that's the only reason why I really try to push, like, get out of the cities here, is because they want to collapse these cities. They want to collapse these major epicenters where all these people live, because they know it's going to be chaos, it's going to be carnage, and they're essentially going to have to declare martial law scenarios in these cities. All right, that's the only reason. And they want to, in the ashes of it, build these 15-minute cities. Everything's tracked and traced, and there's a scarcity. Okay, your energy resources are all, you can only go in this 15-minute zone because there's only so much energy. There's only so much gas. There's only so much natural gas. There's only so much that, this or that. And this is the setup for it, to collapse the grid and then bring in this dystopian tracking, tracing beast system. That's what this is, this beast system. If you didn't see my Walmart warning, go check out that video after this video. Insane warning from a Walmart insider. All right, they are trying to collapse Walmart. Okay, they want to collapse all these, the grid, all these companies, all the stores, everything, so they can bring in their new system on top of it in its ashes, and everything will be tracked and traced and manipulated. Okay, this happened last year as well in Denver, Colorado, during a massive heat wave in the summer. They took control of people's thermostats. Okay, they took control of their little smart thermostats. It's just like these circle ones, these smart ones, and it's like all digital. All right, and they took them over because they're connected to the internet, and they could not turn their AC above like 80 degrees or 82 degrees or something like this in the middle of a massive heat wave. It's like 100 something degrees, 102, 104, right, in the middle of Denver. Surprisingly, you don't think Denver gets this hot. Denver gets extremely hot, especially in the middle of the city. It gets nasty hot there. It's like shockingly hot. Mixing that with the wind as well, when it's blowing, and it's just, it feels like you're in the middle of the Sahara Desert sometimes when you're in Denver in the summer, right? And they were controlling people's thermostats and not allowing them to turn down their AC. This is just a start. This is all the conditioning for it. And then once this stuff really starts collapsing, it's just going to be mandatory. Texas has also been issuing emergency grid alerts constantly, and they've been begging people to not use their appliances. They broke history with the amount of alerts they've issued this year. They've issued like 3 or 4 different emergency alerts, ERCOT in Texas, for people to not use their power. Okay, California did the same thing just a couple months ago. They sent text messages to everyone's phone saying, turn off your appliances right now. And people did. People listened, and supposedly they're saying that prevented a grid collapse. So it's your fault. You've done this your whole life. You've just like used your stove and your AC your whole life. But all of a sudden in 2023, we're supposed to be like this peak civilization. You can't use your appliances anymore. You can't use your AC. You can't use your refrigerator. You can't use your electric stove anymore, or your propane stove. All right, you can't use either one. They're both bad. I don't know what you're supposed to do. I don't know what you're supposed to do. All right, they're shutting down the energy. They're shutting down the food. They're shutting it all down, and it's an intentional plan, and we need to be getting ready and prepared for it right now. So please hit it up for me to help get this video out to more people. People need to know this could affect millions, and New England was getting warnings like this too, all right, last winter as well. But this is a new revelation, and they're saying it could have went out for months because the damage from the pressure fluctuations to the pipeline was so bad. All right, so please hit it up for me down there to help get this video out to more people. People need to be prepared. All right, I live off grid with my family and my RV, but even us, we're on a generator and we're on water tanks, and that stuff only lasts so long. Okay, it has a time limit. Hopefully we can last longer, like make it last longer and ration it in a situation like that, but these things run out. All right, you need to be as stocked up as possible on energy. Energy is the key to the future, and they're gonna make it extremely scarce, and food as well. They want to make food scarce, or the food that is available, it's just so dystopian, it's cell cultivated, and it's GMO, and it's sprayed with 100 different things, or it's made out of things that aren't even real food. All right, that's the future that they're setting up for us, and we need to be prepared, and we need to push back. We need to fight back. All right, pretty soon here in the next few months, we're going to be getting our own homestead. All right, we've been in our RV for years, and we are going to have our own place to go. All right, an actual like homestead and everything with like a house. And once we do that, it's going to be all in on growing our own food, having our own animals. We still have chickens. We're in an RV and we have chickens still. All right, we have chickens, so there's no excuse. You need to get stocked up. You need to start growing your own food. Even a lot of places in the country, you can still grow your own food, and you can still keep going through the winter months. All right, so start doing these things. They're trying to shut down all of the systems, the supply chain, everything. It's all under attack right now, and we need to be getting ready and stocked up and get ahead of it, and also warning other people and preparing for other people. All right, that's where a lot of people are now. Okay, it's like you just have so many preps, you don't know what to do. Start preparing for other people. Think about other people. Think about your neighbors going into this, because a lot of them just aren't going to see it coming, and they're not going to be ready, and they're not going to hear this. This should be mainstream news. This should be everywhere. I could barely even find this quote for the head of FERC, for the head of the Federal Electric Reliability Council. This should be like one of the most important agencies in our federal government, but it's not. We never hear what he has to say or anything. All right, so this should be mainstream national news. Everyone should be preparing for this, and especially New England and New York. They averted a crisis last year on Christmas Eve, and you need to be getting ready too. All right, so please hit it up for me down there. I really appreciate that. I hope you have big blessings for your family. My family is so blessed and extremely blessed, and I just like, I can't even describe it, guys. All right, big stuff going on behind the scenes here with my family, and I'm just like truly blessed that you guys just send love, and you guys are always praying for me and stuff like that. I really appreciate that. All right, so I hope you have big blessings with your family. Hope you have big blessings with your life and your dreams and your goals, and I hope you have a big old blessed day.